Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Kishore Prabhuji, whenever you're ready, you can start, Prabhuji.
Okay, my audio is okay, Prabhuji?
Yeah, it's okay, Prabhuji, yes.
So today I'll be reading, can you remind me again? It's like
The third canto?
chapter 25, 1 to 14.
Correct, Prabhuji, yes.
Okay.
Third canto, chapter 25, 1 to 14, yes.
Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiriye Nashtuprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Seviya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nastiki. So, Hare Krishna devotees, today is Thursday and we are reading chapter 25, shloka from 1 to 14. And the title of the chapter is The Glories of Devotional Service. Text 1. Sri Saunaka said, although he is unborn, the Supreme Personality of Godhead took birth as Kapila Muni by his internal potency. He descended to disseminate transcendental knowledge for the benefit of the whole human race. Text 2. Rishi Shonik continued, there is no one who knows more than the Lord himself. No one is more worshipable or more mature a yogi than him. He is therefore the master of the Vedas. And to hear about him always is the actual pleasure of the senses. Text 3. Therefore, please precisely describe all the activities and pastime of the personality of Godhead, who is full of self-desire and who assumes all these activities by his internal potency. Text 4. Sri Sutta Goswami said, the most powerful sage, Maitreya, was a friend of Vyasadeva. Being encouraged and pleased by Vidura's inquiry about transcendental knowledge, Maitreya spoke as follows. Text 5. Maitreya said, when Kardama left for the forest, Lord Kapila stayed on the strand of the Bindu Sarovar to please his mother Devahuti. Text 6. When Kapila, who could show her the ultimate goal of the absolute truth, was sitting leisurely before her, Devahuti remembered the words Brahma had spoken to her, and she therefore began to question Kapila as follows. Devahuti said, text 7, I am sick of the disturbance caused by my material senses. For because of these sense disturbances, my Lord, I have fallen into the abyss of ignorance. Text 8. Your Lordship is my only means of getting out of this darkest region of the ignorance, because you are my transcendental I, which by your mercy only I have attained after many, many births. Text 9. You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the origin and Supreme Lord of all living entities. You have arisen to disseminate the rays of the sun in order to dissipate the darkness of the ignorance of the universe. Now be pleased, my Lord, that's text 10, to dispel my great delusion. Due to my feeling of false ego, I have been engaged by your Maya and have identified myself with the body of consequent bodily relations. Text 11. Devahuti continued, I have taken shelter of your lotus feet, because you are the only person of whom to take shelter. You are the axe which can cut the tree of material existence. I therefore offer my obeisances unto you, who are the greatest of all transcendentalists, and I inquire from you as to the relationship between a man and woman, and between spirit and matter. Text 12. Maitreya said, after hearing of his mother's uncontaminated desire for transcendental realization, the Lord thanked her within himself for her questions, and thus, his face smiling, he explained the path of the transcendentalists, who are interested in self-realization. Text 13. The personality of God had answered, the yoga system which relates to the Lord and the individual soul, which is meant for the ultimate benefit of living entity, and which causes detachment from all happiness and distress in the material world, is the highest yoga system. Text 14. O most pious mother, I shall now explain unto you the ancient yoga system, which I explained formally to the great sages. It is serviceable and practical in every way. So, Hare Krishna devotees, I finish here. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kishore Prabhuji. Yeah, Krishna and Prabhuji, when you're ready, can start. Prabhuji.
Yeah, sure, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu. Are you able to hear, Prabhu?
Yes.
Yes, Prabhu. Yeah.
Yeah, good. Thank you. Thank you, Kishore Prabhu, for reading the translations for today's session. Thank you all for joining. Today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 25, The Glories of Devotional Service. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamiti Namani. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Pachatta Deshatarane. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktarunda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So just to give a background, in the previous chapter, we heard from Maitreya Muni narrating how after the Kapil Bhagavan had entered into the womb of the mother Devahuti. So Lord Brahma, along with many other demigods, they come to this Kardama Muni's ashramam, and they glorify both Kardama Muni and Devahuti for getting Kapil Bhagavan as their son. Then Lord Brahma suggests to give their 9 daughters in marriage to the 9 sages. And Kardama Muni, following the instructions of Lord Brahma, so he handovers his 9 daughters to the 9 sages. Then Kardama Muni, he privately approaches Kapila Bhagavan, and then he glorifies him. Then he requests his permission to take sannyasa or to leave the home. Then through the process of bhakti, we heard how Kardama Muni got liberated. So now in this chapter, the Maitreya Muni continues, like after Kardama Muni left the home, then Mother Devahuti approaches Kapila Bhagavan and she requests to impart this transcendental knowledge so that she can practice and then get liberated. So being pleased and compassionate, Kapila Bhagavan starts explaining the glories of the devotional service. And he stresses that, so this is the only way to go back home, back to Godhead. So today we are reading this chapter, slokas 1 to 14. So in the first sloka, we see that Saunaka Mahamuni is saying, because as we all know that, so this whole conversation, this Bhagavatam narration started in Naimisharanyam, and all the sages, assembled sages headed by Saunaka Mahamuni, requested Suta Goswami to explain or to narrate this Bhagavatam, because he heard from Suta Goswami when he narrated to, Sukadeva Goswami when he narrated to Parishit Maharaj. So here Saunaka Mahamuni, headed by all the assembled sages, requesting Suta Goswami to narrate the Bhagavatam. So now we are in that conversation. So Saunaka Mahamuni is saying that although he is unborn, Kapila Bhagavan is unborn, so he took birth as a Kapila Muni by his internal potency. For what purpose? To disseminate transcendental knowledge for the benefit of whole human race. And Prabhupada mentioned that Kapila Bhagavan is mentioned as unborn because so whenever Krishna appears into this material world, Sambhavami Atma Maya. So he will come in his original transcendental form. So Satchitananda. So that Vigraha, like eternal, full of knowledge and full of bliss. Unlike all the conditioned souls in this material world, they are forced to take the material body. But Krishna comes in his original transcendental body. So that's why he is unborn, Ajaha. And Prabhupada mentions another word here is for the reason, Atma Prajnapatyaya. So the Lord descended as Kapila Bhagavan to give this wonderful transcendental knowledge for the benefit of the whole human race. Nrana. And Prabhupada mentions that when one gets human birth, so which is very rare and important, Durlabhamanava Janma. So it is expected or it's recommended. Atato Brahma Jignasa. So we should inquire or we should take advantage of this Vedic transcendental knowledge and gradually progress towards the path of liberation. To go back home, back to God. So that's why it is mentioned here, it's for the benefit of the whole human race. So not for the animal society. Because cats and dogs, they don't inquire this for this higher knowledge. Who am I? Why I am suffering in this material world? Even though I don't want to die, so why I am forced to die? Even though I don't want to become old age, old, why I am forced to? Like that, one should inquire. Because the animal society, they don't have that higher intelligence to inquire. So if we as a human being also don't inquire, then we are not properly using the higher consciousness that was given in this human body. And then we are also becomes are equal to the animal society. That's why Bhagavatam mentions that Gokaraha, like one who performs activities only on the bodily platform, then they are called Gokara. Like in Go means cows and Kara means asses. So they are not better than the animal society. So that's one thing. And not only inquiring, who am I, where I'm going to go after leaving this body, why I'm suffering. So once we receive the knowledge, we also need to practice or mold our activities based on that knowledge. Because it is said that knowledge opens the doors of liberation. but we still need to walk through those doors to get into the spiritual world. So the other side. So that means while we are living in this material body, especially in the human body, so we inquire and we get the knowledge, and then we also act based on the knowledge. So that's why our sadhana and our understanding of the Vedic knowledge should go hand in hand. So it should go together. Prabhupada says that if one is performing sadhana without this knowledge, then it may become as a sentiment. And if one is only gaining the knowledge but he's not practicing, then it becomes mental speculation. So that's why both should go together. So for the benefit of the human race, so Krishna came as Kapila Bhagavan and he gave this transcendental knowledge. And Sankama Muni is continuing in the second slokas, saying that so there is no one knows more than Lord himself, and no one is more worshipable, so no one is more mature yogi than he, because he is the master of the Vedas. And if we hear about him, so then that is the actual pleasure of the senses. And Prabhupada mentions that there is no one equal or greater than Krishna. In Sveta Sutta Upanishad also we hear that Natsa Samas Chavi Adhikascha Drishyate. Like there is no one greater or equal to him, because his potencies are unlimited. It's expanding, it's unlimited. So that's why Krishna is mentioned as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because he has these 6 opulences in full. So all riches, all strength, all fame, all knowledge, all beauty, and all renunciation. So one of them is knowledge, all knowledge, complete knowledge. So that's why there is no one knows more than him. In Bhagavad Gita also Krishna says, am I right? Vedanta Krudveda Vidyeva Chaham. Like, he is the compiler of Vedanta. So he is the one who gave this knowledge. So in the beginning, he gave to Lord Brahma. So in the disciplic section, that knowledge is coming. So, and what the purpose of this Vedic knowledge is to understand him more. Vedasya sarvair aham eva vedya. Okay. So he is the one who gave this knowledge. So obviously, no one knows more than Krishna. And Prabhupada mentions in the purport that sometimes these yogis, they are puffed up. Some of them, like, after receiving some mystic powers. So they think that, they are very powerful. But Krishna is mentioned as Yogeshwara. So there's no one more mature yogi than Krishna. So, and then here it is, Sankama Muni is saying that the real pleasure of the senses is to hear about Krishna. So when we hear about Krishna or his incarnations or his pastimes with his devotees, then that is the real pleasure to the senses. So that's why the pure devotees, when they discuss about Krishna one on one, so they release great blissful and they get great satisfaction. Tushyanti cha ramanti cha, like that. So that's why Sankama Muni here requesting Sutta Goswami to describe all the activities and pastimes of the Supreme Lord, so which happens through his internal potency. So, and Prabhupada mentions one word in this sloka is called Anukirtaya, like means following in the parampara. So to explain what he heard. So like, Sutta Goswami, whatever he heard from Sukadeva Goswami, so same thing to repeat it. So parampara. So not to create some mental descriptions, but to follow it. And all these pastimes are happening, whether his appearance or pastimes is happening through his internal potency. So that's why they are mentioned as Divyam. So Janma Karma Chame Divyam. So they are transcendental. So when we hear about these pastimes or his appearance, activities, all those things, then that's a way that we can get out of from this cycle of birth and death, old age diseases like that. So Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadi Dukkha Dosha Anudarshan. So we can get out of from this miserable world. Then we can go back home, back to God. Takta Deham Punarjanma Naiti Mamiti. So Arjun. So while we are living in this material world, by listening Krishna Katha, like chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, or reading Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, discussing about Krishna, not only we relish great satisfaction or relish great bliss, tushyanti cha ramanti cha. But after leaving this body, we go back home, back to God, and then we situate in the constant bliss. So, tattadeham punarjanmana iti mameti suvachana, like that. So, in this text 4, we see that Suta Goswami is replying to Saunaka Mahamuni that the most powerful sage Maitreya, who is a friend of Vyasadeva, so encouraged by Vidura's inquiry, so he started speaking. So now we are coming into the inner conversation between Maitreya and Vidura. So that's a conversation that's going on. So, and here it is mentioned that these two personalities are great devotees. So one is Maitreya Mahamuni, so he is a friend of Vyasadeva, and he's the disciple of Vyasadeva's father, Parasara Muni. And not only that, Maitreya Muni heard Bhagavatam from Supreme Lord Krishna himself when he is giving to that knowledge to Uddhava. And Vidura is none other than Yamaraj, who is one of the Mahajana, pure devotee of Krishna. So Vidura is asking questions one after one, Pariprasnena to Maitreya Muni. And Maitreya Muni, seeing Vidura's enthusiasm to understand this spiritual knowledge, so he's very much encouraged to give the answers. So, and both are deriving great satisfaction and great bliss. In the sloka 5, so we see that Maitreya Muni started narrating. So when Kardama Muni left for the forest, so Kapila Bhagavan stayed at the ashram in the Bindu Sarovar to please his mother Devahuti. And Prabhupada mentions that this is the Vedic system of the household life. Like when father sees that, or when the husband sees that his son is grown up and is capable to take charge of his wife and family affairs, then the father or the husband, he leaves the home to dedicate himself to the path of bhakti. And the duty of the son is when he is grown up, and then in the absence of father, he has to take charge of mother and serve her to the best of his ability. But of course, as Kali Yuga progress, unfortunately, in many of the cases, these two are very challenging. Like, the husband may not be willing to leave the home because of the attachment. At least I speak myself, to the family, wife, kids, the properties, name, fame, or comforts, facilities like that. At the same time, the grown-up son also is not ready to take in charge of the wife and the mother and the family affairs, because as soon as they are grown up and got married, they are going away. So in many cases. So that's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave this wonderful thing, like, so one is not ready to leave the home, they can stay wherever they are, like, sthane sthiti. But only thing is mold our activities in such a way that Krishna is the center. So that way we can make our human life successful. Like, raising up early, chanting Hare Krishna, and reading Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, if one has a free time, and then associate with devotees, stay closer to temple if possible, serve the deities, like that. So we make our activities centered Krishna. Though one is not in a situation where they can leave the home. So in the text 6, he said Kapila Bhagavan, who could show her the ultimate goal of absolute truth. So when he was leisurely sitting, then Devahuti remembered Lord Brahma's words, and then she started questioning. So in the last chapter, we hear that when Lord Brahma and other demigods appeared, so Lord Brahma told to Devahuti that so this personality who is in her home is none other than the Supreme Lord, and he will cut off all the knots of Devahuti's ignorance and doubt. Then he will travel all over the world to give this transcendent knowledge. So that now Devahuti is remembering. So that's why she approached Kapila Bhagavan and started asking questions. So Devahuti started speaking in the text 7. So she's mentioning that here, the sick of the disturbance caused by the material senses. So that's why she fallen into the abyss of ignorance. And this is very nice instruction. Like, Prahlad Maharaj also says that in this material world, all people are always disturbed. Sada samudvigna dhiyam. Because we are always fearful, when what will be gone from us, like that, whatever we have, when they may be, we may be losing them, like that. So padam padam padam, because every step there is a danger in this material world. And there are so many problems, like, starting with the janma, then mrityu, jara, vyadi, and problems by the caused by the nature, like too cold, too hot. So now we are feeling the winter influence. So many of them are cold, cough, fever, they became sick. So that's a problem. And then misery is caused by other living entities, or misery is caused by our own body and mind. So that we are always disturbed in this material world. So it's because of our material senses. Because Prabhupada mentions that these material senses are asat indriya tasnat. So these material senses, because of they agitated, so we are going through a different types of statuses. Like, sometimes we may be human beings, sometimes could be born in the animal society or aquatics or trees, plants, like that. So as we are changing the body, our material senses are also changing. So that's why they're called asat, temporary. But we have a permanent senses, sadindriya. So here Mother Devahuti wanted to get rid of these temporary senses, because they are causing the disturbances, and then like uncover the permanent senses. So in the text 8, so here Devahuti is mentioning that only Kapila Bhagavan can help out to get out of this darkest region. And it is unfortunate that she got Kapila Bhagavan after many, many births. And Prabhupada mentions that the conditioned soul is put into the darkest region, and therefore is entangled in the material existence for sense gratification. And it is very difficult to come out of from this entanglement and to attain freedom. But one who is fortunate, if they come in contact with a bona fide spiritual master like Kapila Bhagavan or his representative, then by their grace, they can be delivered from the ignorance. So that's why getting a bona fide spiritual master, taking shelter of a bona fide spiritual master is not very simple thing or cheap thing. So one can get a bona fide spiritual master after many, many births. So why? Because the spiritual master can help the disciple. It's mentioned here, paragam, which means he can help the disciple to take from this side to the other side of the material world. Like, we are in the material world, so this side conditioned life, and he can take us to the spiritual world. So he can liberate us. That's why it's called paragam, by opening with this transcendental knowledge. So in the text 9, you see that Devahuti mentioning that is the origin and supreme lord of all living entities, and he has appeared to disseminate, to dissipate the darkness of ignorance. Prabhupada mentioned that because Kapila Bhagavan is the incarnation of the supreme lord, so he is the lord of all living entities. And how sun removes the darkness, dissipate the darkness, so similarly Kapila Bhagavan is appeared here to remove the darkness of ignorance in this universe through the transcendental knowledge. So in the text 10, Mother Devahuti is requesting to dispel her great delusion. She is saying that due to the false ego, she is engaged by your Maya, identifying herself with the body. So, and Prabhupada mentions that false ego means one identifies himself or herself with the body instead of the pure spirit soul. And Prabhupada also mentions that here Devahuti is mentioning that engaged by your Maya. So some may misunderstand that Krishna is discriminating Like he is putting some people under the clutches of the Maya and some people under the internal potency, like the spiritual world. So, and it's discriminating, but not like that. So it's not like that. So it's only, Prabhupada mentions that when one wanted to enjoy independent of Krishna, so then the Maya captures him, like, being the false ego, and one wants to enjoy himself independent of Krishna, then the Maya captures. And at that time, they identify themselves with the body, not with the spirit soul. Then Maya captures that personality, that living entity. So because Maya is also an agent of Krishna, so those living entities who wants to enjoy independent of Krishna are captured by Maya and engaged by Maya. So, but it is indirect action of the Supreme Lord. And the Lord is very merciful because the living entity wants to forget Krishna and enjoy in this material world. So Krishna is arranging all the facilities so that they can forget Krishna and try to enjoy in this material world. Of course, we hope to enjoy in this material world, independent of Krishna, but we are going through the constant suffering. So to come out of that, we have to take shelter of the Supreme Lord. So that's why Devahuti is mentioning that here. So she has taken shelter of Krishna's lotus feet. So to help out and to give this transcendental knowledge so that she can be liberated. And she started inquiring from her the relationship between man and woman and the spirit and matter. And Prabhupada mentions that this leads to the Sankhya philosophy that Kapila Bhagavan is going to give. So it's like woman, man and woman, Prakriti and Purusha, like that. Of course, in this material world, so everyone is trying to imitate Krishna as a Purusha. So trying to enjoy. So that's why they are, even though one is in the man body or woman body externally, but everyone is trying to enjoy. So they are imitating Krishna, wanted to be as a Purusha, and the material nature as a Prakriti. But we understand that the only Purusha is the Supreme Lord. So and Devavati is inquiring so that she can be cut her the material entanglement, and she found the suitable weapon is the Kapila Bhagavan. So in the text 12, we see that Maitreya Muni is saying, after hearing Devahuti's uncontaminated desire for transcendental realization, Kapila Bhagavan thanked her within himself and then smiling. So then he started explaining the self-realization or the transcendental knowledge. Because Kapila Bhagavan thanked her mother because the answers that are going to come out from these answers. So the information that's going to come up from these answers, which are the because of the devotees' questions, so that would help or that would inspire one to take up this process of bhakti and or increase the interest for liberation from this condition life. So that's why these questions are mentioned as apavarga vartanam. Pavarga means this material world. Apavarga means the spiritual world. So their desire to go back home, back to God, to the spiritual world will be increased. That's why these questions are called apavarga vartanam, because the answers are going to increase our desire to go back home, back to God. And text 13, Kapila Bhagavan is answering here that the yoga system relates to the Lord and the individual soul. And it's meant for the benefit of the living entity. So which causes detachment from all happiness and distress. So that is the highest yoga system. So yoga means to reconnect the individual souls to the Supreme Lord, connecting ourselves with the Supreme Lord. And it ends all our material happiness and material distress. Because in this material world, any happiness is contaminated with the distress. And Prabhupada gives nice example, like, so drinking the milk is very nice, it gives pleasure. But to get the milk, one has to maintain a cow. So, and to take care of the cow is a lot of hard work. So any happiness in this material world is linked with distress. So it's contaminated. And in the last sloka of today session, the 14th sloka, so here Kapila Bhagavan is saying that now I explain the ancient yoga system, and it is serviceable and practicable in every way. So, and Prabhupada mentions that so there is no need of manufacturing a different yoga system, because Krishna already gave all kind of yoga systems, and which is the perfect one, and which would help to cross all of us from this material world to the spiritual world. So though Kapila Bhagavan is capable to create a new philosophy, but still he planned to give the ancient yoga system, which he explained to the sages earlier. Of course, we hear the same thing in Bhagavad Gita also. Now, Krishna mentions to Arjuna that the same Bhagavad Gita that he is going to speak, he has given that to some god in the past. So it's the same knowledge. So that's Kapila Bhagavan is going to give. So in the next session, I'll pass it here. Next session, we'll hear more from Kapila Bhagavan about this trance knowledge. So I'll stop it here for today. Thank you all for giving this opportunity. Grandhara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you so much, Krishna Prabhuji, for wonderful class. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.